In the year 2500, Louen Leoncoeur was crowned King of Bretonnia. Although his position as king became official, he was far from having the loyalty of the dukes and lords from the realm. In the following years, friends and obedience was gained, but it was in his 8th year that his rule was tried, and it was in this year that all of the lords of Bretonnia respected their king. He crushed the orc invasion at the Battle of Swamphold. As soon as he got word of the orcs stepping onto the sacred land of Bretonnia, he gathered all the knights in Couronne that he could and set out. They had a long way to go and could not be slowed down by infantry. Under the banner of their king, they performed a force march halfway across the kingdom. They passed through Artois, Gisseron, and into Baston. Yeomen ran ahead of the army to gather as many knights as could be mustered. North of Massif Oracle, scouts reported the greenskin horde was near. The warning was unneeded. Soon after, they could smell the greenskins. They stink in small numbers, but when an army of them amasses, the stench can be enough to cause a weak of stomach to vomit and retch. Goblin scouts on wolves could be seen in the distance. King Louen Leoncoeur could only hope that the greenskins would remain disorganized. He sent mounted yeomen to scout ahead while he gave the rest of the army a bit of a breather. They formed up into wedge formations and waited for nearly 2 hours before word came back from any scouts. On the other side of the hill was a swamp, which was home to Swamphold. Not a great hold by any means, but due to the terrain, it was easier to hold off an army by placing the castle in a swamp rather than the traditional top of a hill. The greenskin horde was beginning to break its siege on Swamphold due to King Louen Leoncoeur's army, or if they decided to search for easier targets, he could not be sure. His men were exhausted, having traveled halfway across Bretonnia in record time, being sleep-deprived and hungry without a proper caravan being set up. For the first time since setting out from Couronne, he pondered the wisdom of his hasty actions. His troops should have been fresh. He needed more, and he was not well informed of the enemy army as he should like to be. But it was too late for second thoughts. He ordered his army to advance up the hill at a trot. When they came to the crest, they finally saw what they had come to face. Swamphold's walls were beaten and battered. A handful of fires were being put out now that the orcs and goblins were pulling away. The greenskins were trudging to the edge of the swamp to face their new challenge. No trees or even bushes blocked their path. All had been used as war machines or a source of fire. The Bretonnians might have the high ground, but the situation was still less than ideal. The greenskins were still in a swamp, and cavalry could be of little effect in there. Knights were forced to wait as their foe got into position. Luckily for the Bretonnians, the orcs and goblins thought little about strategy and tactics. The orcs bullied their smaller kin to the front. The goblins quickly started to rush uphill to engage their foe. Once they were far enough out of the marsh, Louen Leoncoeur signaled for the advance. All the fear and doubt that had built up in the young king was now washed away as he approached the horde. The downhill charge of thousands of hoofs shook the earth so violently, it was hard for the goblins to stand. They lost their nerve and broke at the approach of the heavy cavalry. As the goblins ran through orc lines, the Bretonnian knights collided with their target. A massacre ensued, with the disorganized chaos of the goblins fleeing through the orcs, and the orcs being trampled by Bretonnian warhorses. A victory was all but assured. On the hill that they had just rode down, a new threat appeared. Goblins mounted on wolves, and orc boar riders. This new threat could not be ignored, lest the Bretonnians' own advantage be used against them. By this time, the greenskin infantry was nearly in a full rout, and the horses were being bogged down by unfavorable terrain. Louen Leoncoeur ordered his cavalry to turn about face and prepare for an uphill charge. As the knights struggled to about face during the midst of combat, the wolf and boar cavalry began their descent down the hill. The knights had barely gotten themselves organized and charging uphill when a wyvern soared above head. Mounted atop it was an orc clad in thick and heavy armor. Louen Leoncoeur grabbed a lance from a nearby knight and led the charge uphill. The orc warboss saw his quarry and fell upon him as the two mounted armies collided. Lance skewered orc, boar tusks gutted warhorses. Mere minutes before the knights seemed to have a sure victory, but now they were on the back foot. The aim of the lance of Louen Leoncoeur was true, and penetrated deep into the chest of the great winged beast, puncturing its heart and killing it instantly. But the mass of the wyvern was more than enough to knock Louen Leoncoeur from his saddle and sent him sprawling to the ground. When he found his feet, the orc general was already charging him. The battlefield around him melted away from sight, and he saw only his one foe. Leon raised his sword and fell upon the orc with reckless abandon. The orc was surprised by such an attack, but was not on the defense for long. His brute strength gave him an edge that a mere man could not hope to match. Louen Leoncoeur was now on the defense, and could only deflect the overpowering attacks that came in. No man, short of divine assistance, could defeat such a beast. As fortune would have it, the Lady of the Lake smiled upon the King of Bretonnia, and gave him her favor. With a great cry of effort, Leon struck out with the sword, cutting through the blade the orc general wielded, and removed his head from his shoulders. The rest of the battlefield slowly came back into focus, and he could see, with the defeated orc general, his army had lost all desire for battle. The knights, reinvigorated by this event, broke the morale of the greenskins, and pursued them as far as they could. Rumors flew about the soldiers of the king's deed, and that the lady herself helped ensure the victory. Who could not support a king that had been backed by the Lady of the Lake? And so, in the weeks that followed this battle, did all the nobility of Bretonnia accept and pay homage to their rightful king. Hey guys, Keg here. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I know it's been a long time since I've done one of these. My life has just been absolutely crazy. As I mentioned in my last video, I got married and got a 3D printer and a new job and working like crazy. My life is starting to, get back to something more reasonable now, and I hope to do at least one of these a month. If you guys want a certain kind of battle or certain factions, let me know and I'll see what I can do. But until then, I'll see you guys next time.